Tonight on the Chillstream, America's most powerful billionaire threatens Bitcoin. I learned an important secret about shopping for domestic items, that and so much more. All of that coming up in 2 minutes. Back. Hey everybody, thanks for stopping by. Welcome to the show. Judas Fly Chai already in the chat. First in with the comments, Mr. Fly Chai, welcome to the Monday Night Chill Stream from the beautiful land of Los Angeles, California. Well, as usual, there's tons of stuff going on, and I'm trying to kind of sift through this and find what's kind of important and what's not important. There's some stuff is comforting in the most bizarre way because you can see that I don't know, nothing for the federal government, everything is running smoothly, everything's fine. But there's a lot of stuff going on, bubbling under the surface that I think is eventually something's going to break through and cause the Titanic to hit the iceberg, or the Goldberg or something like that. But there's so many, watching all these threads, to me is it's fascinating. Looking at this, going, that's not going to get better. That's only going to get worse. And understanding that. I've said this before, we're entering a world where you aren't going to know what is real and what isn't real. And AI, particularly, is going to be the primary tool used to fuck your brain up. And so let's start with the human brain. Let's start at the top and work our way down. Let's start at the top. This is a really good. This is an amazingly cute neuroscientist, but some important things for you to understand. By the way, smash up that like button. Some important things for you guys to understand about ultimately who you are and how you actually behave.
Friendly neighborhood neuroscientist, and today we're going to talk about free will. Most neuroscientists that I know anyway tend to be somewhat deterministic. The more you learn about the brain, the harder it is to really believe in absolute free will, and I'll explain why. Now, there were a set of studies in the 1980s that looked at brain activity and decision making and found that in fact your brain starts doing stuff even before you're really conscious of your choice. More specifically, what they found was there was this readiness potential, or this rise in electrical activity in the brain before the participants were really aware of their decision to move their arm. It's scary to imagine that your brain is taking action before you've consciously participated in that decision, isn't it? Even further, the more you understand behavioral science, the clearer it is that we are influenced by absolutely everything that's going on around us. Everything you see, hear, taste, witness, all the things will have some influence on the choices that you make and your behavior. We tend to want to think of ourselves as objective, present readers of reality, but I'm not sure that that's really true.
Such a cute little Irish girl, making some important points. The influences around you influence you for real on levels you don't comprehend and you don't control. Some people have great intuition and some people have terrible intuition. But that's important to understand as we sort of go forward, because the people that run this planet, they want to show you certain things in order to motivate you to do X, Y, or Z, to influence you to do this, that, and they want to hide other things from you, so you don't notice. Because, and really, it doesn't affect them in any real way. But let's see. There's things that, here's this chick. I had such high hopes for her. Here's another. We'll go to another girl, another pretty girl, who's really good for the first, well, for the majority of the clip. She's got some good information, and to give you some perspective on just where we are with a lot of things. The end is shit, but whatever. It's 1 minute and 30 seconds, and it's fascinating that TikTokers are starting to figure this shit out.
I heard a new term on TikTok today that made me stop in my tracks.
We are living in the silent depression.
This guy believes we are not just living in worse than the Great Depression, we're living in the silent depression. The average annual income in 1930 for an American individual was a little over $4,800. Sounds like nothing, but if you adjust that for inflation, a little over $4,800 a year in 1930 is equivalent to almost $85,000 annually for the average salary for one person. Right now, the average annual salary is $56,000 a year. We currently are making less than the height of the Great Depression. In 1930, gas was on average 10 cents a gallon. That would be about $1.73. In case you haven't filled up your car lately, average cost of a gallon of gas is $3.55. To buy a new car in 1930 would have been about $860. It's worth about 15 grand. The average cost of a new car today is $48,000. And of course, the most coveted aspect of the American dream, being able to buy a house in 1930, cost about $3,900, less than $70,000. I spend way too much time on Zillow, so maybe this isn't surprising to me, but the average price of a home in America today is $416,000. How could we be living through worst cost of living and wages than 1930? And no politician, no media outlet, no one is talking about it.
That's Bidenomics. It's about growing an economy by strengthening the middle class.
This bit where they attacked Joe Biden on there, like it's, this is them, a weak ass attempt to get you to hate Joe Biden and influence the election. Which, trust me, the election's in the bag. He's going to win by a mile. But everything that woman was saying, that the average salary in 1930 was $3,800 and a house cost $3,900. That adjusted for inflation, houses should cost about $70,000. And they're over 100K, way over that in a lot of areas. And that this lack of affordability, and I realize, listen, there's people making dumb choices in life. They're buying cars that are too expensive for them. They're living way outside their means, and there's always going to be people who are foolish with money. But the inflation thing is going to force people to behave in ways that that they currently think are unthinkable. And Groiped and Pilpul, Biden will win. How do you know? Hello, Groiped and Pilpul. I don't know who you are or how you got. Are you a subscriber? Are you one of my new subscribers? I think I got 61 subscribers, which is very high, which is very, very high. Yeah, how is Biden going to win? Well, they just supposedly they killed that Russian mercenary guy. They say he died in a plane crash. I don't know if he did or he didn't. I know back during the Cold War, the KGB used to execute all sorts of Russians that we would find later walking around the streets of Moscow perfectly alive and breathing. So, you know, did they crash a plane and say this guy was in it? Yeah, maybe. You know, did they crash a plane with the guy in it? Maybe. But who cares? I think this change in the war footing is going to, by the time the November 2024 comes around, by the time election time comes around, that Russia will lose the war, America and the Ukraine, the good guys, will win the war, and Joe Biden will be a heroic war president. And how could you ever vote against that? You know what I mean? And Groit and Pilpold in the chat. I'm an old subscriber. Oh, okay. All right. Everybody changing their screen names. It doesn't make a difference because if you're whatever, they've got your account details. They absolutely have your account details. But I think what they're going to do is make Biden like the big war president, blah 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 blah, and everything's going to be, you know, he's going to be the rescuer of, you know, the Ukraine and all the rest. But the problem is he's got to rescue. Well, this is the title of tonight's stream, The Twice Born King. It's really a play on a science fiction novel I read when I was a teenager. But which was a fascinating. It was in the 1980s. In the novel, it was called The Non-Born King. And anyway, in the 24th century, life on Earth is so ridiculously good and so easy and so perfect that no one wants for anything. No one anywhere wants for anything. And but a lot of people are bored and restless. And some guy in Colorado invents time travel. But nobody even gives a shit, except a few randos start showing up and say, "Hey, I want to go back in time, you know, to before all this stuff." And they're like, "Well, you got to go back. You're gonna go so far back, like to the Pleistocene age, where you can't mess anything up." And they're like, "Yeah, okay, that's what I'll do." You know what I mean? There won't be any dinosaurs, but it'll still be, you know, an adventure, and a bunch of people start going there, right? And at first, it's a small group, then it's an enclave. Then it splits into two groups, and then it gets political and war and all kinds of shit. Then they start coming back to the 24th century to get laser guns to go kill each other in the Pleistocene age and blah 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 blah. So it was a fun novel, interesting novel at the time. At least I thought when I was a kid. But I think sort of the reverse is going to happen. What's going to happen here in the real world in the 21st century is life is going to get crappier and crappier. And people are going to escape more and more, not through a time machine to Earth, you know, right after the dinosaurs died, but into cyberspace, right? Into a digital world that's going to replace all of, you know, digitally all of the accomplishments and the emotions and everything every metric of success will be redefined in this digital world, and people will just get sucked into it, and because the real world will be so fucking horrible. Groip and Pilpold, the war is a stalemate. No one is winning. Groip and Pilpold, it is bombing for profit. There is no stalemate. It's just they're just blowing up shit on a map that the American taxpayer is going to pay to fucking rebuild when it's all said and done. They're rebuilding the Khazar Khaganate at taxpayer expense, and of course, probably killing off, you know, any annoying Russians who don't want to go along with the program. But so yeah, where are we going to go? The problem, the reason why I call this Twice Born King, because it makes me think about Bitcoin being born out of the housing crisis, of the housing crash, 2008, 2009. Now, that really wasn't there were other attempts at this previously, but in the very first block of the Genesis block of Bitcoin, somebody put the headline. They inserted the headline of Chancellor on the brink of second bailout. So in America, they did the Troubled Asset Relief Program. That was George W. Bush. Gave $757 billion to the American Insurance Group and a bunch of other things because the insurance companies had gone down because of the housing crash. And and then Barack Obama gave another like $850 billion when he got in. So it's like 1.5 trillion extra dollars from that financial crisis were printed, and of course none of it made its way down to us. But a lot of the big shots were saved. The CEOs who had fucked up massively, and all the money managers who had fucked up massively, they were made whole. The rest of us, of course, get to suck wind. But I think this is going to happen again, a second time. And I think it's going to really just really boost Bitcoin really big, because when it all starts crashing down, I think that, I've said before, rich people want to stay rich, and they'll do anything they need to do to stay rich. And one of the things they're doing right now, this guy, he's a real estate dude on YouTube. And it's got a lot of good data. I got 1 minute of him talking about institutional landlords.
Owners of these luxury apartment buildings are freaking out right now, and they're cutting the rent. At the buildings behind me, you can get as much as 3 months free rent now because these apartment developers are struggling to lease these units. You go on Zillow, they're $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month in a city like Nashville when the locals only earn $80,000 a year. People can no longer afford the rent in America, and now the rent is officially going down year over year. And this was something real estate investors weren't prepared for. These investors who bought during the pandemic and built luxury apartments like this, they thought the rent would keep going up forever. And unfortunately, I think some of them are going to get foreclosed on, because not only is the rent starting to go down and the vacant units increasing, a lot of these buildings have what's called floating rate debt. But when they took out the construction loan for this property, it was at a 3% interest rate. Well, now they got to refinance at a 7% interest rate, and they can't do it. So watch out for more landlords to cut the rent over the next year, and for some of them to get foreclosed on.
And adjustable, the 2008-2009 crisis, well, that's what it culminated, was based off of adjustable rate mortgages. So people with poor credit would take who could barely get a mortgage, would get a rate of like 8% plus LIBOR plus 2%. It would be like LIBOR, which is the London Interbank Overnight Rate, LIBOR plus 2% for the first 2 years, and then it would adjust to like 4 or 5%, and of course, the rates would just go. These were like C and D credit borrowers who basically were getting 2 more years of rope to hang themselves with. But and then Wall Street packaged up all these bad loans together as safe as houses, mortgage-backed securities, sold them around the world, and when everyone defaulted, it was like 10 million defaults or 10 million foreclosures or whatever the fuck there were. It almost took down the entire world economy. So I think similar things have been going on since COVID, right? Because a lot of this was, $62 trillion was printed during COVID, and all these people invested it thinking you could, in places like Nashville, have apartments that were $4,000 a month. Like, how many of those do you think you could have? Well, apparently they're not doing the math. This guy, the real estate guy I showed, he does the math. He just shows you the numbers. It's big, scary numbers. And when all these people, when these big institutional investors, and that means BlackRock and all these other outfits that bought, I think BlackRock in Texas bought an entire development of 1,125 homes. Single family homes. They bought the whole fucking development for like $100,000 over the asking price for every unit. Well, and they're going to use them as SFRs or single family rentals. Who the fuck is going to rent it? Like, who could afford to pay them? You know what I mean? people can't afford to live down there. At the rents, BlackRock needs to make a profit, and they can't keep hemorrhaging money. So it's going to be when it all blows up. Virgil Doc, Purple Heart, welcome to the show, sir. When it all blows up, it's going to be really bad. So definitely live within means. However, let's see, what do we got? When I say everything's normal, everything is like going the way it normally does. There was this kid they showed apparently in Jacksonville over the weekend. This pudgy beta male dude went into a Dollar General store and shot 3 black people. I don't know if he killed them all, but he shot 3 of them. And here's a picture of his rifle, right? Of one of his AR-15s. He had a couple of these. The white writing is really kind of interesting because that's the same sort of shitty white fucking graffiti on a black rifle that the New Zealand shooter did a number of years back. There was supposedly a New Zealand mosque shooting, which is the fakest, shittiest video you've ever seen. It's not on YouTube, but it's on BitChute. I've seen it. It's incredibly bad. But this guy had a whole car full of black rifles that were all painted with this, I don't know, like a fucking nail polish brush or whatever. Just total crap. But it's black rifles with white lettering on it, and this one you can see has 2 swastikas on it because nothing says nerd who lives at home like swastikas on your ARs. They don't say where the guns came from. They do say in this article, if you read through it, and I highlighted a couple of things, it says the shooting is not believed to be related to any other incidents across the country. And when I read that, that's what I highlighted at the top of the screen there, the first 3 items underlined in red. And I'm like, oh, so is the plan, the FBI or whatever, deep state, CIA has a plan like, oh, there's going to be a nationwide outbreak of terrorist attacks all across the country. And that's, it's going to be so, specifically these poor African Americans are going to be the victims. They're going to try to string them all together and convince everyone that we need to burn the Constitution, or at least the part that says Second Amendment. It says the alleged shooter lived with his parents. There's no surprise. They were unsure where the firearms were stored, but they did not belong to the parents. So they have no idea how he got these guns. He had, I think he had, I can't, there was this guy and there was another guy in Fargo, North Dakota, who did a shooting. But this guy had a manifesto. He apparently, when he was on his way to the Dollar General store, called his parents and told them to look on his computer where they found his manifesto. So you got a manifesto, you got a black rifle with shitty white graffiti on it and fucking crap fucking swastikas, and a fucking incel living in his family's basement, shooting shit up. So FBI or whoever runs this, CIA, whoever runs this, however they run it, this is their playbook. You've seen it before a bunch of times. There was a story I didn't grab it. Like I said, it was out of Fargo, North Dakota, where some guy had 3 ARs, 4 Glocks, dozens of magazines, all kinds of ammo, supposedly explosives. I didn't say what they were, and he was on his way to shoot up like some kind of a street festival or some type of public festival in Fargo, North Dakota. But on the way, he passed a traffic accident where there were 3 cops taking a report, and he just pulled over in the parking lot and started shooting at the cops. And I think he killed 1, wounded 2 others, and then wounded 1, and then the third cop killed him. But this guy, they made this guy out to be a domestic terrorist, and they said he had 3 ARs, 4 Glocks, all sorts of rounds and ammo, an arsenal. But he had a tactical vest from Walmart with no plates in it. So I don't know. Where did he get the money for the guns? Like all this stuff, these elements of this these incels with thousands and thousands of dollars for firearms that just, that they get out of the blue, and then they go off and do something. This guy, luckily they burnt him to the ground, but this was part of the nationwide pattern of events. So, when I say things are still going along at full speed, the federal Titanic, they have their agenda, right? It's burn the Constitution so that we can have real freedom or whatever, racial equality, you know what I mean? And you won't notice things like this was something I saw that I was like, oh my God, this is maybe, of all the stuff that I have, this is maybe like one of the scariest things I ever saw. And I'll throw up the screen share. I saw this on my Instagram. So it says earn 5.5%, withdraw whenever, right? And it says put your money to work with treasury bills. They're trying to sell government bonds to people on Instagram. That's scary, kids. That people on Instagram don't have enough money for a fucking, you know what I mean? They spend their fucking EBT fucking payment before they fucking get it. This is bad. This is very, very scary bad. But what happens to all fiat currencies is they all go to zero. The greatest of all of them is this one here. This is the British pound. The buying power of the British pound from the year 1694 to today. So 1694, when they first issued the paper currency, the British pound, the pound sterling, you can see how wildly, how the value of it fluctuated immediately. It looks like nobody was really into this, but they pushed it and pushed it and pushed it up until about 1775. And then it took a decline, and in the 1800s kind of went sideways for a while. But now you can see the year 2000, you've lost 96% of your purchasing power in the Great British Pound over 312 years. And this is the strongest of all fiat currencies ever. The US dollar, of course, is the current world reserve currency, and it has lost 96% of its purchasing power in about half the time. The problem is you need a lot of money to get the fuck out of to get out of Dodge, but it's very tough to make that. Let's go to real estate guy again, and this might not seem. I'll explain to you what I think it means on the other end.
I'm here in Miami, folks, and we got a real problem in a city like Miami. You could see it on the sign behind me. McDonald's hiring $12 an hour. All right, that's around $25,000 a year if you want to work full time. Now, here's the problem here in Miami and the rest of America. If you want to live at any of the apartment buildings here, the cost is $3,000 a month, $36,000 a year. You do the math and you realize that the regular working American, they are not able to afford to live in these cities that they work in. The rent, the cost of living has gone up so much faster than wages, and that's not sustainable, folks. And that's why in 2023, not only are we going to see home prices go down, we are going to see the rental market crash as well. This is something that has already started in America. Rents have gone down 4 months in a row. The demand to rent apartments hit the lowest level ever in 2022.
It's not true where I live. I had to sign a new lease today. My rent went up 5%. It goes up 5% every year. But the point this guy makes is that even if you decide to flip burgers full time, you can't live in the neighborhood that you work in. And you say, well, so what? Fuck it, man. Let them take the bus. You know what? People will do that for a while, but eventually they will do it, and then no one works at McDonald's. You say, well, who gives a fuck about McDonald's? Well, all those people in those $3,000 apartments, they can't fucking cook. You know what I mean? They're all their entire life, everything is pre-made, for them in advance. You think they're going to the supermarket and buying raw ingredients and and cooking them at home like real groceries? Everything is everything they buy is prepackaged. Everything they buy is pre-made. They just pop shit in a fucking microwave. So when the slave class find it no longer advantageous for them to flip burgers for you, they're just going to stop doing it, and they're going to do something else. What I think they're going to do is become toll collectors, because here's the city of my birth, New York City. Oh, New York City. This is there. You know what? It really does lead the world. This is something I saw, and I just like, this is the beginning of something that's just gonna crush everything.
This is how you'll be paying for congestion pricing. The first toll readers are now installed on the Upper West Side on West End Avenue between 60th and 61st Streets. By the time it goes into effect, there'll be 120 of these toll readers across the city, charging drivers to enter south of 60th Street. Pricing will range from $9 to $23, and the MTA's Traffic Mobility Review Board said it will offer tax credits or discounts for low-income drivers who live in the area. Passenger cars and taxis are set to pay only once a day. Other exemptions are still being determined, and of course, this price is on top of the tolls from bridges and tunnels, and there's been a lot of pushback. New Jersey is suing the Department of Transportation. Staten Island is looking to follow, either suing the DOT or MTA. But despite all this fighting, it still has the green light to start in spring 2024. And when it does, New York will be the first city in the country to have congestion pricing.
You want to go somewhere in Manhattan, forget about Manhattan prices for everything. The prices have skyrocketed, like for everything, for food, for everything. Prices skyrocket, the quality plummets. And now, if you want to drive on those streets, which are all rutted and full of potholes anyway, you know what I mean? You're gonna have to pay an extra $9 to $23 a day, to do that. And it's the city of New York is literally robbing anyone who dares to come in. And I like the guy in the video said, that doesn't account for tolls and all the rest. And they're fighting it out in court, but it's going to go through, and you're going to pay. Ultimately, even if the city of New York loses in court, they'll settle out of court. You know what I mean? And it'll this thing will spread to other cities and spread throughout the entire city. So there won't be anywhere you can go that you can move without having to pay the government a fee to go from point A to point B. And if you say, well, it's just for cars, it's just for this, it's just for that, trust me, pretty soon it's going to be, we're not far from facial recognition charging you to walk from, 34th Street to 33rd Street. We're not as far away from that as you might think. And you're probably not even going to know what's going to happen, because you're going to be so, your brain is going to be so spun up on bullshit that, maybe not your brain, but most people's brains are going to be so spun up on fucking bullshit, they will not know what the fuck is going on. I saw this. This was the best absolute thing. This ties right into the brain influences thing of it. The first clip I showed of the pretty Irish girl talking about everything you see and hear influences your decisions in life. That's why cultivating your own environment is really, really important, and not having a television. Not having a Talmud vision in your house constantly spewing its evil influence on you is critical to try to get through this. But most people can't live without TV. Here's a perfect example of how they're just going to make everything old is going to be new again. Check this out.
Straight outta Compton, crazy mother named Ice Cube. From the gang called Fellers with Attitudes. When I'm called off, I got a sold off. Squeeze the trigger and bodies are hauled off. You too, boy, if you're with me. The police are gonna have to come and get me off your ass. That's how I'm going out. For the pulp mother, they're going out. When I'm in your neighborhood, you better duck. 'Cause Ice Cube is crazy as I leave. Believe I'm something. I'm coming straight out of Compton. AK-47 is the tool. Don't make me act like a mother fool. You're weekly, monthly, yearly, and tell them dumb mother see clearly. Straight out of Nashville singing them crazy little rap songs, but my voice just don't quite belong. I'm so lonesome that I could cry, and nothing good'll come from this AI.
So I don't know who did that. That's a super clever and a great example. Hank Williams sings Straight Outta Compton by NWA. And that little bit of audio, right, is a teaser of what's possible. John Wayne can come back. Marilyn Monroe can come back. Judy Garland, right? They can come back and they could do all their old movies all over again, or they could do new movies. And everyone's going to gobble that shit up. And they're going to redefine in the way that the great juxtaposition of Hank Williams and Ice Cube, or Hank Williams and NWA, juxtaposed against each other. You know, the people who love to turn things upside down and reverse everything, oh man, they're going to have a field day. They're going to have a field day. Griped and Pillpool. I grew up watching television. Yeah, so did we all. So did we all, Mr. Griped and Pillpool. The question is, can you free yourself from its influence? It will take some time. It's doable, but it will take some time. In the meantime, what else is going on? What else do I have? I gotta think about it. In the meantime, yeah, let's go back to how unhappy your life is going to be, and why Hank Williams singing NWA seems like a rational, normal, calm thing that you would be attracted to. This is a video out of Philly, which is well, I'll talk to you on the other side. But it's a minute 30.
Somebody gonna shoot y'all niggas. Y'all niggas.
So isn't that charming? Isn't that just so charming? The second driver, smart enough to notice that there's 75 future engineers, lawyers, doctors, plumbers, 75 of them in the middle of the street, decided to make a fucking U-turn and get the fuck out of there. The first one got lucky in the sense that probably they just dented the hood and the bodywork of the car and didn't break any glass or cause any expensive damage. But this is the kind of thing, you remember BLM stopping traffic a couple of years back and blah, 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 blah. Now that these kids are doing it for fun. And this is kind of a variation of what black kids do in the ghetto all the time. They used to do this in the 90s when I drove taxis, is they would, and these are like young kids, I'm talking about 12 years old and younger. if you were driving along a line of parked cars, they would stand in between the two parked cars, and they would step out real quick. You know, they take one or two steps out into the road, so you'd see them at the time. Remember, nobody had smartphones. This is 1992, and you would lock up the brakes, and then they would jump back between the two parked cars, and them and their friends would howl with laughter, and it would be like a test of machismo, and you know, they would do this shit all the motherfucking time. Occasionally, one of them would get hit, and then, of course, the Crown Heights riots were sparked by that. But this has now gone on to a greater and greater level. They stop these cars in the middle of the road just to fuck with these people. They're enjoying scaring the fuck out of them. Next thing they're going to do is charge you a toll. Next thing they're going to do is make you pay them to leave you alone. That's the next step. That is 100% the next step. And somebody's going to go, well, you know, just shoot them. That would be a bad fucking idea. That would be a profoundly bad idea. Shooting an innocent young African-American youth on his way home to do his homework before he volunteers at church. You know, so the reality of that terror, you will do anything to escape that. You will pay anything to escape that. You will live in the pod and you will eat the bugs if you don't have to go down that fucking street. Now, I don't know where you live, or, you know, big town, small city, big city, small town, whatever. You need to know where those schools are and where those kids walk, and don't drive there. Even if it's the most convenient way from point A to point B to get home, you're going to have to practice driving an extra 5 or 7 miles around all that shit, so you don't get caught out one day, you know, thinking about all your problems and all the things you have in life, and then all of a sudden 75 kids jump on your car, start screaming and yelling, and somebody comes banging on your fucking window and says, you know, give me $20 and I'll tell them to get off. You know, and what are you going to do, right? This is only going to get worse and worse and worse. You won't be able to move without having to pay a toll either to the good boys or to the city of New York. You know what I mean? That's what's coming. It's not coming tomorrow, but it's coming. There's none of the. I've been in Philly this past summer. There's kids riding dirt bikes, you know, completely illegal, like dozens of them, you know, dirt bikes and quads, wheelies right past the police. The police don't even stop them, like nowhere. I was in a town called Millville, New Jersey. Same thing, you know, earlier this year. The police just pretend it didn't happen. You know what I mean? You have these black kids on dirt bikes, no helmets, nothing, no turn signals, no headlights, no license plate, no insurance, doing wheelies on the sidewalk, on the roads, and the cops just pretend it's not happening. Now you, however, especially if you have this skin tone, you spit on the fucking sidewalk and they're going to come down on you like a ton of bricks. But for other people, this behavior is ignored. It's not seen, and it never gets better. It only gets worse. It gets exponentially worse. And the urge to get away from this is going to be phenomenally strong. And you will do anything. Where's my man? I meant to show this last week. I showed the wrong clip. This is Jeff Booth, a guy who's a tech guy. He's a Bitcoin bro, a Silicon Valley guy, who understands from a kind of a clinical, detached perspective of what the future of America is going to look like.
Do you need theft and money to have a productive society? Or the opposite question, if you had theft and money that had to exponentially expand, what would that do to society? What would be the mirror reflection of society if it was based on theft? As that theft has to increase, more people notice the theft. Like if somebody walks away 2% inflation rate, you just might as well change inflation to theft because you don't vote for it. Why have we been conditioned to think we need a 2% inflation rate? If we just talked in first principles, doesn't that sound illogical to say we need 2% theft in money per year? If you could wave a magic wand and say, I'm going to fix it, what would you do? There isn't a fix. There isn't a mathematical fix out of the existing system. You really have two doors. Door one, let it all burn. Door two, continue to lie to people and print money to try to make the debt repayable in cheaper nominal terms. What would be the mere reflection of society based on truth versus theft?
What Jeff Booth is saying is that the nature of the way things are set up, right, is for the value you create. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're in England or in Europe or in Japan or whatever. Central banking steals from you ever more, ever more, ever more, right? Each generation getting less and less free. Each generation at the lower classes getting less and less, while all the value gets sucked straight up to the top. And the people that run this, they have all sorts of stupid fucking, they're shitty fucking psyops. You talk about correct and pimpled in the chat. Oh, I grew up on Talmud Vision. Well, the current generation grew up on smartphones, and this is what they saw. This was a couple of days ago. So here's a leak. See, this is leaked. This is secret information that we're going to make available to you. Leak reveals Elon Musk, X, which is what they call Twitter now, and Wall Street could be about to cause Bitcoin and crypto price chaos. So, and they got Elon Musk looking a little bit like Dr. Evil. And in the article, it's a shit article. It's written by Forbes. You can see it at the lower left-hand corners. Written a couple days ago by Forbes. That they claim that Elon Musk has all sorts of power over the price of Bitcoin, and he does this and he does that, and the price of Bitcoin does this, and the price of Bitcoin does that. So they're setting it up in your mind that Elon Musk, everyone's favorite billionaire, the smartest man in the fucking world, the super engineer, he's the one that has the power over Bitcoin, or the power over the crypto markets. But here's the real, here's the reality, right? This is from this is a press release from what, Coinbase? Coinbase to suspend 6 crypto assets in September. So crypto is a scam. It's all it's an infinity scam of a Bitcoin. It's a con. They're all shit coins. They're all worthless. But Coinbase, which is going to be the transparent market that the SEC allows the Bitcoin ETF to be traded on, Coinbase has to get rid of these shit coins. So they have to get rid of really all of them. But they're giving you a heads up that all of this shit, which was worthless to begin with, is really, really, really going to shit. And so, as if Elon Musk, who everyone knows, if that's not frightening enough to you, well, guess what? The alphabet agencies, always in the service of the elites. The alphabet agencies did this. And this, I sent this to the sports ball guy, and even he was shocked. So this is from the website, The Daily Hodl. It says FBI issues warning to crypto investors, says North Korean hackers may sell $40 million in Bitcoin. And the guy's got some name that I think is a tribe member name. I can't read it off my screen, it's too small. But think about who can make the FBI issue press releases. Who has that power? Does the White House have that power? Fuck no. The White House does not have that power. Okay? The people above the alphabet agencies are telling them what to say and when to say it. And what they're trying to warn you, and this is which you better hurry up and sell all your Bitcoin before Kim Jong-un destroys the entire market. Better sell now, okay? And when you see shit like this, instead of thinking, oh, fuck, this is bad, you should think, smash up the buy button. Because This is the exact opposite of the truth. But understand that the alphabet agencies still work for the fucking bankers and always will work for the fucking bankers. So what the bankers want, the bankers are going to get, including that fucking completely fucking ridiculous nonsense about Kim Jong-un is going to, what the fuck, whatever. He's going to crash the fucking price of Bitcoin. Him and his North Korean hackers. In North Korea, they fucking use grass for soup. They make soup out of grass. They can't fucking feed themselves over there. You think they could hack the Bitcoin network, which is currently the number of computers, or the amount of computing power, I should say, that is in the reachable Bitcoin network is something like 378 quadrillion calculations per second. You know what I mean? That's literally more computing power than any computer network on the face of this earth. That includes every government, including the U.S. government. So there's no way you could fucking hack the Bitcoin network. Not today. Maybe 2013 you could have, but it would still have taken a lot back then. But it's too big. It's too powerful now. Too many computers around the world all updating their public ledger every 10 minutes exactly the same way. And people haven't figured out how powerful that's going to be yet, but you will. And some people, even women, I got some more chick stuff. So it's going to be like a very chick heavy show. We get some more chick stuff here with the one and only Natalie Brunell, this girl's got a big, this woman has a big future with Bitcoin. She's a rising star, but she's having a chat with someone who I think is Asian. I'm not sure, partially Asian, like a quarter Filipino. I don't know.
I thought I understood the financial system, but I really thought inflation is natural. Of course, things get more expensive over time. Of course, a soft drink costs 25 cents when our parents were young, and it's $1.50. I thought it's just the way things are. I didn't question it. I didn't question fractional reserve banking. I thought the Fed was a government entity. I knew the dollar wasn't backed by gold, but I didn't realize it was backed by no gold. Like, there's so many things that I didn't understand and just thought, why should I study that? I'm successful. And I think that's by design. I think we're kept in the dark. I think it's meant to be that we're not supposed to understand. And even talking to so many of my normie friends now, or my dentist friends now, if they're doing okay, they don't care to learn. It's like, it'll all be fine. That meme about it's fine, I hear it all the time. Yeah. Why are you worrying about this?
So smart people, that woman's a doctor, and I think her husband's a doctor. And it was part of a bigger video where they said they sold their house, which is probably a good idea at this point. They sold their house and put it all into Bitcoin, and they're going to rent somewhere. Being doctors, they'll have jobs for life. You know what I mean? Doctors will always have a job. They will always have a place to live. But the point she makes, and the point I've made myself, but the point this woman makes is she says, hey, I'm successful. I don't want to think about fractional reserve banking. I don't want to think about why is inflation necessary. I don't need to know any of that. That's for guys who live in one-bedroom apartments in New Jersey. That's not for someone like me. I'm well educated. I'm licensed to practice medicine. Blah 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 blah. But somehow, some way, it got through to her that, hey, you know what? This doesn't fucking make sense. This really doesn't make sense. And that's a high IQ person with a good education who sees that, this is going to end badly. But like she says, all her normie friends are like, oh no, everything's fine. What are you worried about? Blah, 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 blah. Well, they're trying to send treasury bills to people on Instagram. You have mobs of teens and youths running wild in the cities, and it's only going to get worse. The cities themselves, the city government themselves, are looking to rob the citizens just for going from point A to point fucking B. right? It wasn't enough to rob you to come into the city, like say New York with the bridges and tunnels. It's not enough to rob you to come into the 5 boroughs. Once you're in the 5 boroughs and moving around, now we're gonna rob you from there. You say, well, it's only Manhattan, it's only Midtown. Yeah, that's where it's gonna start. Pretty soon it'll be the whole island, and then it'll be the Bronx, it'll be Brooklyn and Queens, and everywhere. And you won't be able to go outside the house without having to pay a fucking tax to someone, or both. Both, you might have to pay the government tax and the street tax. You know, but you'll have a porn movie with fucking Humphrey Bogart and Marilyn Monroe. You know what I mean? They'll do a porn movie and they'll have that on your phone, and it'll be just as real as anything you've ever seen. And you might be sitting there thinking, well, it's not going to work on me because, all right, I understand all the shit's coming, and I understand what's real and what's not real. Except you're going to be living in a world where everyone around you does think it's real, and you're going to have to survive in that environment, and that's not going to be quite as easy as you think. It's just not going to be that fucking easy. And in the meantime, what do we got? We got two other quick stories. This is the sort of thing that, like, you know, when I was a kid, first reading about politics and communism and all sorts of stuff, something like this would have been like bombshell explosive. And now, like, literally nobody gives a shit. I like what this guy's saying. Well, I like what the white guy's saying. The thing I hate about this type of video, and you see these on Instagram all the time, is the "I'm really listening." You have someone saying something, and then you have, you know, the whoever made the video doing their reaction. They're like, I'm having a big think about this. But that pet peeve aside, understand that they're doing this here in America as well.
This was not a conspiracy. It was just a known thing, meaning the government of Zaire had to place IMF officials in its government, in the treasury, in control of the economy. And we would shape the economy, usually to do two things in the tropics. We would focus on extractive industries. So, like, let's get this stuff out of the ground as fast as possible without any benefits accruing to the local population. In fact, we'd often, like, ruin the environment around them and make their life miserable. And number two, agriculture stuff. So we would force them to do this kind of industrial scale agriculture, usually of things that they couldn't eat, that they would export to us for our consumption. So we would engineer their society to do this and to be more dependent. And in order to do so, we would devalue the currency. And you basically want to, like, shrink the economy. You don't want the government to be, like, providing any subsidies to its people, healthcare, education. No. That's only for rich countries. But beyond that, there's, like, nothing for the people left over. Of course, the dictator takes his cut. That's what the IMF does to countries.
The fucking background music. It sounds so dramatic, like something's happening. But they're doing the same exact thing here. Yeah, they're paying for education and this and that, but the money printer runs faster here. But because it needs to, because white people tend to create so much value, they create the societies that everyone else wants to live in. But for Africans, it's much easier to knock them down. It's much easier once you devalue their currency to people with limited options, limited education, limited understanding of how the world works. It's a whole lot easier to keep them in servitude. But the IMF is run by the same people who run the alphabet agencies. You know what I mean? Don't think otherwise. IMF is the whatever, it's the international arm of the Rothschilds, and the Rothschilds control the FBI and everything you're going to fucking see, and all this AI shit. That's the world we're going into. You know what I mean? So when Groypton Pilpold says, "Oh, how do you know Joe Biden's going to win?" Because I heard Hank Williams sing Straight Outta Compton. That's how I know. That's how I know Joe Biden's going to win. You know what I mean? And I suspect they're going to make him a war hero. He will defeat Putin. He will put down the Russian bad guy, and he'll smack those Chinese around and get them get them in fucking line or whatever, and he'll win fucking massive fucking re-election. And you know, the narrative is already that that Trump is a criminal and all this stupid shit, and they're going to criminalize the retards who love Donald Trump, you know, and whatever. I can't. There's nothing you can do to stop that, right? This is going to continue happening. It's worked out real well for them from January 6th onward, and they're going to just milk it and keep milking. But with that, I think have I covered every conceivable thing. I think I've covered every conceivable thing for this week. For this week, other than well, once again, this is one's real quick. You might be surprised. You might be surprised to find that this is harshly critical of the Jewish people on my show. Are you kidding me, James? Are you kidding? Really? Yes, honest to God. But understand, we're all fucking Palestinians.
Israel's putting lipstick on the pig that is their racist apartheid system. So Israelis can get into the US without a visa by joining the coveted US visa waiver program. In return, they're supposed to treat all American citizens equally, Palestinian, Muslim, or otherwise. But in the fine print of their agreement, it's clear that they have no intention of actually fixing the racism that their country was founded upon. Let's look at some examples. All American citizens can finally use the airport, except anyone with a Gaza ID. And also, Israel still reserves the right to deny any American entry for being a security threat. But at least now Americans with West Bank IDs can travel between Israel and the occupied West Bank, but they'll be forced to exclusively use what the US whitewashes as pedestrian crossings like this one, aka highly militarized, inhumane, and often crowded checkpoints like this.
So that girl, obviously, she's very passionate about this Palestinian cause. And if you're honest, you know, you should think that the Palestinian people deserve the right to self-determination. But if that one small group decides to play by their own set of rules, where everyone else is a second-class citizen or worse, regardless of how many billions we send you of our tax dollars, this is not good. I mean, and this is, you know, I don't know how many Americans are of Palestinian descent in America. Probably not that many, but it's a bad precedent. It's a really bad precedent, and it will apply to you if you publicly criticize the chosen people. You know what I mean? You will find yourself labeled a security threat, and you say, well, I don't care. I don't really want to go to Israel. You know what? That label will eventually have power in America, and you will find that your passport gets revoked or some shit. Again, not going to happen tomorrow, but ultimately is going to happen. Anyway, for everybody that's still here, smash up that like button. For everyone that's watching this on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday coming, thanks for stopping by. Smash up the like button. And with that, I think we're going to call the stream, as they say. We're going to call the stream. I want to say thanks to Virgil Doc Purple Heart, Worked and Pimpled, and Judas Fly Chai for commenting in the chat. And I'll talk to you guys next week.